Hello and welcome back to TheCager Chess Championship, where 8 of my viewers face off in head-to-head matchups to crown a champion. Today, we have 8 incredibly strong viewers. I'm going to start off with announcing King XE4, who is currently around 2100 in Rapid, 1758 in Blitz. And his introduction, I am King XE4, and I am higher than Cager, and I will be 2200 before Cager. He won the last tournament, so I wish him the best of luck. Next, we have Togus here, who is currently 2482. But at the time Cager reads this, I'll either be above 2500 or below 2300 in Blitz. Have to ask him which of the two it is. And now next, we have Barat, who is a guy passionate for chess alongside higher studies. He is around 1314 Blitz and 1400 Rapid. Next, we have Wizard Asta, our underdog in the tournament, right next to Krutov. Wizard Asta, he's been playing chess since he was young, with his highest Rapid rating of 1200. He enjoys playing aggressively, but he sticks to solid opening, and his favorite opening is the London, which he's been playing for a long time. His rating may be on the lower side, but I believe I have what it takes to win the championship. Much respect, Wizard Asta. I hope you the best of luck. He has participated in, I think, virtually every single tournament, and he has made it to the final before. Let's see if he can do it again. Next, we have Krutov Victor, who is around 1000 in both Rapid and Blitz. His introduction is me, the destroyer of chess, will compete in this tournament only to win. I wish him the best of luck. And then after that, we have Stepu, King Husky, and Chezes, who are the replacements for today. Stepu and King Husky are both around 2100 in every time control, both Rapid and Blitz. And then Chezes is around 1700 to 1900 in his respective time controls. I wish everyone the best of luck, and this will be a legendary tournament. If you like this video and this content, please make sure to like the video and subscribe. I post this regularly, and I also host it on Twitch. So good luck. Good luck, everyone, and we can go ahead and begin with round 1. Boom. This is a new page. Look, I designed it myself. Can you tell? All right. Round 1 is going to be Barat versus Chezes. Now, it's a little bit unfortunate for Barat. He kind of got the short end of the stick, as we have probably the strongest pool of players ever in this specific tournament, and Barat is right in the middle. So there's 2 players at around 1000. There's Barat at 1400, and then everybody is 1900 and above. So it's gonna be very difficult for him to win this. But I have seen crazy things happen in this tournament. So since Barat is the lower rated player, I will give him the white pieces. So if you could go ahead and send over a challenge over to Chezes, we can go ahead and get this tournament started. And we are off. The game is officially starting. Game 1 of the TheCager Championship. We have a Caro-Kann defense advanced variation, trying to trade off the light square bishops early. They go for that. Well done. Dog wins my game 30 minutes from now. Probably. You can go next if you would like. I do 5+2. Just because I want to give I would do Rapid, but that would take way too long. This is the best time control that I can get for this tournament. You said I'm first, so I'm next. Yes, you will be facing Barat after this game. But let's see. No, not Barat. Sorry, you will be facing Wizard Asset after this one. So white already long castling. This is a structure that we have to work with. It's very solid for black. I like white. I like what they're doing with their pieces. At least gonna start like a kingside attack. I probably wouldn't have taken the pawn there, but we give a check. Oh, and that's got actually. Oh my god, the bishop's already gonna fall. Wow. Okay, Barat already winning a bishop that quickly. Well done. Now Xanderall did tell me he was 1900 in Blitz. So that's his own fault. But Barat already up a full bishop, just straight out the gate and on move 12 within about a minute of the game starting. Very well done. Good spot. And now black is going to be on the back foot, trying to recover all of his advantage. But that's low-key wild. Black Clover! Okay. But Xanderall now booting up his engine. I'm just kidding. Allegedly. Castle's long, which is kind of crazy, but I can understand. Brings his knight, attacking the queen. Queen is going to have to move. Not really many good squares for the queen. You either have to retreat. You can't really come forward at all. You can't come here, come here. Oh my goodness. And then knight's going to get in. Put pressure on the pawn. Put pressure on that square. Yeah, offers a trade of the queens. You're down material. I would just take this immediately. I don't think this is good. It also weakens your pawns. Now, this is just a winning endgame for white. They're going to get in with check and then threaten to take the f7 pawn with a fork. Like, they're going to have to manage this. Oh my god, and now it's just available on the board. I guess you could go take and then go down, but that's generally not what you want to do. Probably rotate the piece, rotate the knight out of the way, and then try to go for this. This does come with check, but after take. But gives a check, but you can take... Oh my god, but it doesn't even do that. Huh. Now you can just give another check. The king can come forward. I believe it has to come forward. This is interesting. There was a moment here. You could have taken... What I was looking at is take the knight. Take back. Okay. Okay. King either has to come forward, but now you're gonna have knight takes. Just Barrett absolutely dominating right now. This technically isn't a clean fork, as you will lose the knight, but that seems to be honestly totally fine, as you're gonna gain the rook. So I think, and you take with check first. I guess sacrificing, and now you're going here for the fork. That's a good desperado tactic. You know you're going to lose the knight anyway, or at least with the strategy that you're trying to go for. So you might as well take a pawn, damage the structure a little bit more, and then go for the fork. Very well spotted by Barat, playing up very nicely. Up 2 points of material, about to be up more. The rook comes forward, but now you can just take the one in the corner. Like, I believe there were moments here where you could have just brought this knight out, maybe try to trade it off, and then just go down the exchange, but now you're just down a full rook. So I don't think black is 1900. I think they fibbed. I think they lied. And Barat, with a very impressive victory. Like, this game wasn't even close. Barat is up 7 points of material, absolutely crushing right now. Very well done. Okay. Dog, my opponent is 2350, not 2100 LMAO. Yeah. Actually, King Husky, if you want, I believe you can play King XE4 and Stepu can play Togus here. It's really up to that. King Husky MMA, thank you for the follow. You're subbed. I don't know why you're just now following. That hurts my feelings. Well, King XE4, I'm not having you play Tog. You're the lowest rated Blitz player out of the 4 of you. Black now with a big thank. Wait, I didn't resign for that. Ha 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 ha. I mean, you said you're 2100 in all time controls, including bullet, so... Okay. Rook drops back, kind of removing the escape square for the knight, but now I imagine just get your bishop out, try to trade off the rooks, trade off the bishop for the knight, bring the other rook, you know? Bishop comes out. I feel like this is probably the worst square for the bishop. I would have preferred it on e3, at least forcing an exchange of pieces no matter what. I feel like this is a lot more of a passive move. I would have really liked bishop e3. That would have been great. Well, somebody has to get the matchup for Togus here. So if y'all want to figure that out, you know, can you play Christian? No, you cannot. Xanderall now down to a minute left on the clock. It seems like it's going to be a very clear victory for Barat. I don't think there's anything that could happen that would lead to any other outcome other than him moving on to round 2. Which, by the way, round 2, I believe I have not mentioned it, but round 2 and round 3 will both be random wheel spin, get your game. There's about 15 or so different variants and game modes on there that will be played, and it'll be a best of 3 matchup. And then the final, it'll be best of 5. Okay, yeah, King Husky, you will play Togus here. That's about right. Can I remove my ability to veto and immediately play variants? No. Immediately trades off the rook, and now you can bring the knight back. You can bring the knight back into the game. Try to, bring it forward. Yes, sir. I imagine we're going to have take on f2, but that's not going to do anything, as you can just kind of immediately attack. Attacks the knight. Okay. Now you can bring it here, now with pressure on the pawn and kind of forcing another trade. The black now down to 20 seconds. We have takes. Takes the pawn. Rook comes over, and now the knight hardly has any escape squares left. Is going to have to retreat to g4, and then maybe even back a little bit further. But with 16 seconds on the clock, I believe that black will be losing this. Unless something catastrophic happens. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, takes the pawn in the corner. Now you can take the knight. Just go down trades, but you give it another check. Just take the knight. Take. Awesome. You do get 2 seconds back every move. Knight takes, and then just immediately captures. Now it's just, now you should just be winning. Bring the rook, gobble these pawns. Yeah, just gobble everything in the position. You can take here, start pushing these pawns on the side of the board, bring it all the way back, and just start playing Pac-Man. Very well done. Very well done by Barrett. A very clean victory. Yeah, just get the rook behind the pawn, and black does, in fact, resign. All right, Barrett, congratulations. You are moving on to round 2. What a very strong performance. Absolutely kicking this man's ass. Very well done. So that means that Chez's... Oh, shoot. Chez's, there you are. You have been eliminated. Thank you for participating, but you are donezo. You are out of the tournament. Barrett will be moving on to the next round. So for game number 2, we are going to be having our 2 lowest rated players for their matchup. It is going to be Wizard Asta versus Krutov Victor. Krutov being the lower rated player, I'm going to give you the white pieces. So go ahead and send Wizard Asta his challenge. You will have the white pieces. Awesome. By the way, that is what I'm going to be doing now for the colors. Until it gets like a little bit more confusing, I'm just going to go ahead and give the lower rated person the white pieces. I feel like that's more fair, especially if we have some lopsided matchups. But great, dude. Barrett, very good game. Like, hell yeah, dude. You played fantastic. What a performance. Okay, I got to go to Wizard Asta, and I'm waiting for their game to begin. Wizard Asta, if you could go ahead and send over Krutov Victor a challenge. Wizard Asta, you're going to be playing with the black pieces, and we can get that game going. I'm waiting patiently, and the game has begun. All right. Game number 2 of the round 1. We have Krutov Victor versus Wizard Asta, our 2 lowest rated players of the tournament. Wizard Asta had participated in every single one, and I believe that this is Krutov Victor's second appearance. So we'll see who can win. Wizard Asta, we have a second Caro-Kann of the day, which is very interesting. So far playing completely normal chess. Wizard Asta has been rapidly evolving in his chess ratings. It's very impressive. Over the months of being in the TheCager Chess Championship, he has gone from just under 1,000 to all the way to 1,200. He has gained around 300 rating points in the last few months. He's been playing absolutely fantastic. If King, I feel like the 2 fan favorites of this tournament are both King xe4 and Wizard Asta, purely because Wizard Asta is the underdog. And he has been here for so long, and I would love to see him get a victory. But it is hard because you have to go through 3 different opponents, all of them very high elo. Especially this pool of players are, I believe the average is probably around 1,800. Hydrate. Thank you. So this is the structure so far. It's honestly fine for both sides. I don't think any side has a clear advantage. The knight wanting to rotate into the center. I feel like this is a weaker move. Maybe you want to bring out the bishop, but both sides kind of having their pawns opposite of the enemy bishop, playing totally good chess. This is probably one of the most balanced games that we've seen. So far, very strong play. Cager, how tall are you, dog? I am 6 feet. 6 feet on the dot. Mm. All right, the rook slides over to b1, protecting the b2 pawn. The queen was threatening that. Now, I don't think you ever want to take, because it kind of gets it difficult to maneuver here. Maybe you want to close off the center. Maybe I think now is probably a time to bring out the rooks, or maybe even try to bring the other pawn into the game and take as much space as you can. I wouldn't say I'm that tall. 6 feet is fine, but it's not crazy. Plays a6, honestly just a waiting move, kind of a pass back move, but putting another pawn on the light squares to counteract the light square bishop on the white side. Bishop comes out, now putting pressure onto the e6 pawn, so it makes it difficult to ever break out with f6 or even f5. f5 would be interesting to see, but I don't think you can really play that just now. I'm not really sure what either side does. I imagine white is going to start transferring their pieces over to this side of the board and going for a kingside attack. Maybe you want to play queen to e1 and slide it over to h4. Of course, given the bishop is gone. But so far, just more shuffling. Black now sliding his rook over to c8, maybe trying to open up the position, get his rook more active. We also want to bring over this other rook, and then maybe you're going to sort of try to make some advancements with your A pawn and B pawn, kind of in tandem. Brings the rook up to f3. I imagine this is to allow for queen to d2, or like queen to, either of these queen moves, and then trying to double the rooks on the f file, which is pretty much your only advantage. But both sides, I believe that this position is about equal. But so far, very solid play by both. Now we have takes, trying to open up the rook, taken with this pawn, keeping this position completely closed off, which is how black should play this. This bishop is effectively neutered from the position. It can't really have any life over on this side of the board, and it only really can't do much here. I imagine some ideas is trying to go for a minority attack for black, dropping back the queen and trying to play b5, b4, and try to make this try to damage this pawn, make it weak, make it a backwards pawn, and damage the structure here, giving more space for the rook. We have h4 trying to start an attack, but I do believe this is just a free pawn. But at the same time, do you really want to open up the h file? You don't have that much. It's going to be hard to transfer pieces over, especially with the locked center. So taking this pawn, while you do go up a pawn, you are opening up this file for attack, and that could get very scary very quickly. Now, a move that would be interesting to see would be g5. I don't believe it works, but it would just completely lock the bishop in, and yeah, you would immediately get trapped. But now, I imagine you could also try and bring over the queen and play more defense with the bishop, but you decide to drop it back. Now, you can probably protect it with h6 because it can't be removed by the f and h pawn, which are both gone. Cager, what is your mouse's DPI? I can't answer that question. I'm going to be so honest. I have no clue. But so far, this is a very good game by both players. Now dropping the bishop back, very good move, spotting that there was mate and one on the board. Now completely protecting the bishop. Now, something I think I would like to see is bishop drop back and then trying to play here and here. Wow. White now trying to bring his knight over to g5. I believe now you kind of have to bring over the bishop or bring over the queen. You can also rotate the knight. You need to bring another piece to the defense because knight on g5 is going to hit like a truck. Now, what I would do personally is probably knight to e7, opening up this file for future use, and then knight to g6 as a response, kind of just blockading everything, not allowing the pieces to get coordinated on any of the squares. That's what I would do. Because if knight to g5 comes on the board and you take, decides to bring the queen instead, this move is fine. It does still accomplish what you need to do, but I would have liked to see the knight rotating and playing defense here. I am sure that would have been fine. Now, you do have to look out for threats on sacking the rook for the bishop. You have to see if that ever opens up and causes anything to happen. Maybe bring the other rook. Maybe you want to bring your king up and try to double the rooks on this file and get something going. But so far, both players playing phenomenal chess. We do have rook to f1. Maybe just putting a little bit more pressure onto that file. Maybe we're going to see knight out and then maybe some sacrifices. Maybe I'm interested to see if the rook will ever sacrifice itself for the bishop. That seems like where the position is headed. And now, see, why I would have preferred moving the knight and then playing defense like this is because you then would have b5 and you could break up in the position. but then you bring the knight out. That's interesting. I'm honestly okay with this now. Now you're starting to get your own sort of counterplay onto the queen side. You are arguing, basically, you're saying that white, you do not have an attack. All right? Screw you. Both middle fingers up in your face. I am going after on the queen side. We go king to f2, and now maybe rook to h1, even though it was delayed. That could happen. Oh, man. And then we would actually have the rook sacrifice. The knight now comes in, but I think rook to h1, and then you attempt to sacrifice here, and you might just be winning. I don't see any way that you'd be able to stop this. Oh, man, you tried to go for counterplay, but I do think that this is a strong enough attack. How will Wizard ask to respawn? Now, I believe now is a moment where you're going to need to try to play f5 or f6 and break out, either remove the king, and you go out. Okay. Interesting. Taking the b pawn and now going after the queen, but the queen simply drops back. And now you're going to have that rook sacrifice. That rook sacrifice is going to open up, and then there will be it's going to be very difficult to defend. This is simply attacking the knight, and now the rook sack is going to be on the board. And this will pretty much be game over. Krutov Victor absolutely cooking right now. This is a very dangerous position for Wizard Asta, now down to 35 seconds, running dangerously low on the clock, and we have... Hi? Okay, we're back. Oh my god, sorry if I was muted for a while. But the knight now got to safety. I don't know what White was thinking. They could have just taken the knight for free, but they decided to move the king out. I guess they really wanted their knight into the position, but now the knight is safe. Now the knight is safe and going to trade itself off for 2 pieces. I would imagine just taking the bishop. Wizard Asta down to 13 seconds. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know how long it was muted. We have check. Rook flying down the board, taking another piece, and then now taking the bishop, trading off a lot of the pieces of the white's position. Now there is no checkmating attack. We could see takes with check. You take back, take with the rook. And now there is no check. Oh, but that's a blunder of a rook. Oh my god. We could have had queen takes. That was a full blunder. Oh my god. A moment here where the rook was just fully lost, but now the queen comes in, and now there's at least a counterattack. We have takes. We check. The king has to slide over. There are no more checks. You can give another check, but then the king is going to run. Oh my goodness. The rook is now no longer in danger. We have checked. The king has to come forward. Holy cow. What a crazy turn of events. The king is now just going to continue to come forward, but you have to be cautious. You have to be very cautious. Oh, that's a check. Now you just take the queen, take with the king. And now black is up a pawn in this rook. Oh, never mind. Now the pawns are equal, getting behind this pawn. We're going to have takes, and now you have 2 pass pawns. This is going to be a very interesting endgame. Is Wizard Asta going to be able to clutch this up, having 2 pawns down the center of the board, going to be walking in tandem together, trying to promote, while white has 2 isolated pawns. But black is 2 squares away from queening, but that king is coming. And it's going to be very hard to stop it. Now you can give a check, and that loses a pawn. But you run this way, and now you're threatening to push again, but then the king's going to get it. Then the king is going to get in. Okay. Is black fumbling? I believe you can just come here. Gives a check. But that's a blunder by white. That's a blunder by white. Oh my god, because the king protects the rook. And now the rook is going to take both of the pawns. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yo, and now the pawn is going. Black needs to get in front of the king. Black needs to get his king in front of the pawn. Now there is no stopping it. The king is going to stop the pawn right before the promotion. Oh my goodness. In black with just a rook is going to checkmate the white king. Yo. Because there's an increment because I want to do 10 minutes, but that's too long. So I do 5+2 instead. I feel like that is totally fair way to do it. Other games did not have an increment. Every single game of every tournament has had an increment, by the way. Oh my goodness. Wizard Asta declining draws back. What is this? Dude, what a game. What a game by Wizard Asta. Absolutely clutching up. That's insane. Pieces could have absolutely flown off the board, but now black attempting to deliver a checkmate, slowly but surely bringing the king and the rook over. But does black know what they're doing? Can black checkmate here? Oh my goodness. Now it's getting scary. 2 or 2 to 1000s. Can he checkmate with the rook? And that is going to be checkmate. That is going to be checkmate. Yep. Oh my goodness. What a game. Fantastic performance, Wizard Asta. There was a point here where your rook was just completely hanging. This check that you gave, your rook was just lost. You would have just completely lost your rook in one move, but he didn't see it. And then you bring the queen with a counterattack. Oh my goodness. What a game that you played. And then we have another moment here where white fumbled the bag and tried to take this pawn, but it did not work. Oh my goodness. Great game by the both of you. Fantastic entertainment. But sadly, Krutov Victor, thank you for participating, but you have been eliminated. What a game. Thank you to the both of you for that electric experience. That was beautiful. And now, Wizard Asta, you're moving on to the next round. Congratulations. For our next game, we are going to have king takes e4. Actually, no. We'll save that matchup for last. We are going to have King Husky MMA versus Tog is here. The two highest rated players of this tournament. And this tournament is stacked. So you know this game is going to be very good. King Husky, since you are the lower rated player, you are going to get the white pieces. So if you could go ahead and send a challenge over to Tog is here, I would go ahead and start and view the game. This game is hopefully going to be insane. Zaffron, what's up? What's up? Oh my goodness. Thank you. Also, if you made it this far in the video, please consider liking. I know I said that before, but it really does help out. You know, I host these tournaments regularly. If you want to participate, join the Discord down below. And I post announcements weekly. We host these every Friday at 5:30 a.m. CST, so bright and early for us Americans. But I'm pretty sure everybody in this tournament is foreign. So we have a lot of people out in Indonesia, India, Australia. It's very fun. But MH, moving on to the next round. Dude, what a game. That was an incredible game. But I'm now waiting for the game 3 to begin between Tog is here, who's rated 2350 blitz, and for King Husky MMA, who is around 2200. This is going to be the highest matchup that we have played. I'm now waiting for the game to begin. If you could go ahead and send, that'd be huge. Okay, the game has begun. All right. Good luck. Good luck. King Husky is saying he's 1900, but he is 1736 here. So we started off with F3, then F5, a very, very unique opening. Very unique. I'm interested to see how this goes. We have a pawn exchange into the center. The bishop now comes out, kind of removing the pin. Now we're going to have some trades. Rejects the bishop trade. Now pushing d5 to take as much space as you can, but that is going to leave some weak squares on e5 and c5. Bishop now comes out to the most active square possible. White, so far, out of the opening, I think has done a very good job getting all of their pieces active, while I feel like black is kind of lacking in development just a little bit. But so far, so good. Okay, so knight comes out, possibly to try and attempt to play e5 in the future, but it's going to be very difficult for that to happen. So far, an interesting position. Maybe black wants to play c5 here and try to open up the position, maybe try to get a knight here and bring out the bishop this way. Some other moves, you can maybe bring your queen up to e7, But it's going to be very difficult for you to develop your pieces. I feel like there's not really any easy moves for black to play. I'm going to switch it over to the white perspective. And white, I feel like, just has a beautiful position. Very obvious moves. Playing rook over, put pressure on this pawn. Maybe you want to bring out the queen to c2 and slide the other rook over into the center. I feel like white just has a very clean, very solid position. Bishop now drops back, giving more activity to the rook, and that's a blunder of a bishop. But takes the pawn. That's actually crazy. White playing a little bit too fast, not realizing that his bishop was just completely hanging, and now Tagas here has all of the advantage. Every good thing about white's position is now just gone, because they are just simply down material. Now the knight develops itself, bringing out the bishop. The rook is still very strong here. What an incredible turn of events. Now the bishop comes out with immediate threats of taking the knight, which I would just trade this immediately. You're up a full piece. But the bishop comes out now, kind of protecting the rook in case it were to get attacked. The bishop is now threatened. I would just take from my own perspective. But the bishop drops back, playing a little bit more passively than I would like. Because I would have liked to see trade, bring up the queen, bring the other rook over. But that's not what happens. We have a slow move, b3, kind of preventing the knight from entering the position. Same thing with the bishop. The queen now comes over. Oh my goodness. Why did you not add yourself into the tournament? Oh, I don't play in these tournaments. I could, but like, I probably would lose. It's because I wouldn't announce it, you know? I would play in the tournament. Maybe I'll have one where I do. But now, just with an absolute atomic bomb coming down on the F-file, that knight will not ever be able to leave. And now we have a4, just trying to take space onto the queen side, but it might be too little too late. The knight could get a little bit stuck. Now trying to trade off the rooks. The knight is going to have to drop all the way back to c8, but we have takes first. But now I believe take the knight, and you might be a little bit scared. Okay, but now the knight has to drop back. The knight cannot have any other moves. Knight jumps back, maybe wants to rotate. The rook comes up, supporting the bishop a little bit more. But just a fast move. I believe that Ziz's main strategy here is trying to play the clock, but it is 3+2, and you do get some time back. Queen now slides over, putting pressure onto the e3 pawn. Thank you for the follow. Fawaz is back. Much love. And hello, VIP Boyle. Thank you for the follow. Queen now takes the pawn with a check, and white's position is just falling apart. Like, now the bishop is going to be able to trade itself for the knight. The rook is going to come in and just start gobbling. This position is completely winning for black. What an absolute domination by Tagas here. Now, being up 3 points of material, decides to bring his bishop out, putting pressure onto the queen first before taking the knight. Interesting decision. Now, the queen can always come forward, but I imagine just takes. I would like just takes. I wouldn't try to overcomplicate this. You are up 3 points of material, so getting all the pieces off the board would be huge. But then again, this bishop is very powerful. But I would be worried about, you know, his pieces coming alive like this. But okay. Then again, if the bishop ever leaves, you could trade off the queens, and that would be a lot better than keeping that on. We have Barat saying G5, G4 is winning. Interesting. That would be interesting, to say the least. Bishop goes ahead and trades itself off for the knight. Now, Tagas here kind of consolidating being up 3 points of material, trading off all the pieces and going into a winning endgame, or at least attempting to. Now, his goal should be to try and trade off the queens. If the queens get off the board, this will just be a very clean endgame that black will be able to convert. Destiny of a Dragon Warrior saying hi. Hello, hello. Welcome in. King now on h2. Checks can be given, but if anything, I would say you need to bring your knight in. Maybe try to get it to a very strong e4. Knight on the e4 square would be incredible. Sacrifices the bishop. I don't think this is needed. Doesn't even take, by the way. That's insane. Really, doesn't even take back the bishop. I know there was a check that could be given, and then maybe you get in, actually, so that could be problematic. Now that I'm looking at it, bishop takes. If you take with the pawn, you're going to have check, and then that actually will probably lead to game after you take back here. But we have now rook to e2, putting pressure onto the queen. But now you can drop back with a check, or drop back here with a check as well. King now slides over to g1, getting out of any sort of danger. Now, I imagine you would want to get the knight in, or trade off the bishop. Trading off the bishop is also totally fine. Okay, but I would love to see the knight get some light, you know? Oh, man. Yeah, there was a moment there, but now we can trade if you're willing. Ooh, this song is groovy as hell. Barrett now suggesting a rook lift, basically bringing up the rook and over, and maybe trying to go for a checkmate down the h file. Decides to slide his queen over. Now actually pinning the rook. Now you have bishop takes. Pawn can't even take because you're going to have rook takes, and they're going to be able to trade off everything. And that's what happens. Now rook takes is pretty much just winning. Rook takes pawn. The rook cannot recapture, and we're going to have captures, and everything will trade off. And then black will just have a completely winning position with two outside pass pawns. That is just game. Rook takes f2 is on the board. Queens are off the board, and now there are two passed pawns on this side of the board, and black is up a knight. Black doesn't even need the knight to win this. Just the king and the two pawns. And the pieces are going. It's just a matter of time before black is able to win this. I think white was just playing a little bit too fast, losing their bishop in one of the first few moves. They're trying to play on the clock, but Tog is here, just absolutely locking in. Oh my god! A pre-move mistake. Oh, but that's going to be checkmate. Oh, but that's with check! Oh my goodness! Slides out of the way, but now there's a queen on the board. What a huge mistake by black, playing just a little bit too fast. The queen now comes back and is now defending the pawns. What a mistake! You did not need to pre-move that. Now the queen, oh my goodness. Now there's no way to promote the pawns. The knight is going to come by, but are these pawns strong enough? One pawn falls. Oh my goodness, white is now winning. What a turn of events. Now with 4.5 minutes on the clock, a full 3-minute lead. What the hell? I did not see that one coming at all. I thought black completely had it in the bag. Tog is here, the professional thrower, and he doesn't even play baseball. We now have king to d3, just bringing his king into the center, kind of preventing any sort of counterplay. Now you're going to want to bring the queen in. Start giving checks, maybe try to win the pawn on a7. So just queen to a2, and now this pawn is going to fall. The knight gets back, but now you can just continue to put kind of threats. Maybe you want to trade off the b5 pawn. Oh my goodness. And now more pawns are traded, but now this pawn is going to fall as well. But the knight comes forward, but you can give a check. And now you can give another check if you really want to. You can also try to trade off more material, but this doesn't even work. This isn't a draw. This is completely winning for white, but white has been throwing a little bit of this game. It could be interesting. Playing king to e2 is strange, but I imagine you want to just bring the king around and maybe try to deliver a checkmate. Yeah, bringing the king up and over now. Totally reasonable move. Black is just going to have to shuffle back and forth. They really do not have any other options. Do have to be cautious about some checks, but nothing is given. Now white is just going to be slowly bringing the king. Again, being very cautious about any checks. Now you can give a check as well. You can also take the pawn and then maybe try to play that, but that would be interesting. Stepu is saying theoretical draw. I don't think that's true. And that will be checkmate. Can white find it? And he does. Oh my goodness. What a generational throw by black. A completely winning position, but just played a little bit too fast. Decides to pre-move the next two moves and loses on the spot. That is a travesty. The game was completely winning. What a perfect game by Tog is here until the very last moment. Oh my goodness. Incredible. Review it, please. All right, we'll do a quick little game review and then we will continue. I don't want the tournament to go on too long, but everyone is wanting the game review. Tog is here. Dude, I am sorry. Oh my goodness. Here is this. Ignore that. If you want to see the accuracies, this is what it looks like. That is a travesty. Travesty on the board. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. We can do a quick little game review. It was basically a perfect game. Like, it got weird in the beginning. I noticed that, like, this opening, I felt like white just had such a dominant position. But here, they just simply forgot about the bishop. They forgot that the bishop was hanging. And then rook takes, and then black was able to get all of the initiative in the world, playing phenomenal, getting the rook, queen, and rook all in the same file, and trying to trade off pieces the best that they can. Even finding certain tactics of trading off the bishop, another incredible move, because if you have pawn takes, this rook is coming in, and that's going to be mating too, because you come down, and you're going to have check, slide over, and that would be checkmate. So that's why, that was another fantastic move by sacrificing the bishop. But then we drop it back, and then we continue to rotate. And dude, that is tragic. I am sorry, but that means that Tog is here. The favorite to win this entire tournament at 2,400 has been eliminated, and Husky MMA is moving on to the next round. What a turn of events. This is probably one of the craziest tournaments that I have hosted so far, just with crazy turnarounds and upsets. But now for our next matchup, it is going to be King X E4 versus Stepu. Now King X E4 won the last tournament. He is the reigning champion. Is he going to be able to defend his title? And Stepu coming in as a new challenger. I believe he has played in this tournament once before, but both players are around 2,100 rapid. I'm going to go ahead and give King XE4 the power of choice, just because I do not know really what the exact ratings are to give the lower player the points. But King XE4, you can choose one or two. If you correctly choose the number, you will have the white pieces. Please choose the number 1 or 2. He chooses 1. That is the correct number. So King XE4, you will have the white pieces. Congratulations. All right, let's go ahead and get the game started. What a tournament, y'all. Oh my goodness, these games have been insane. Wow. But I am now waiting for the game to begin. King XE4, if you can go ahead and send a challenge to Stepu, or vice versa, that would be huge. And I will get the game booted up. This will be the last game of round 1, and then we'll move on to round 2, which will be a random wheel spin, best of 3 matchup, which has a bunch of variants into it. And the game has begun. King XE4 with the white pieces. Stepu, aka T Voltios, with the black pieces. Both black being significantly higher rated in Blitz, but King XE4 has been climbing the rated ladder like very high. So we have a closed Sicilian defense, also kind of reminiscent of a modern or a Pierce defense, but with a Sicilian. White taking a lot of space, playing F4 here. I actually really like this. A lot of space for white. Now kicking out the bishop. Bishop is going to have to drop back, and that's going to be even more space gained. But you can only move so many pawns in front of your king before it becomes bad. But so far, out of the opening, I am in love with white's position. Taking a lot of space, but then again, black is going to have a lot of counterplay. B5, now an opportunity to play, and you could try to remove this knight. Yeah, but I don't know yet. If you want to try to take space, trying to play A6 and then B5. Now an opportunity to trade, but I imagine you don't really want that to happen. So possibly drop the knight back. Maybe you want to play E5, try to go for a setup like this. It could be interesting. I'm curious what black decides to do. Decides to drop back. A safer move. Not losing a pawn, not damaging the structure. Scripted tournament. Dude, oh my goodness. I would believe it if it was a scripted tournament. This tournament is insane. The rook now slides over, putting some protection on the B pawn, and maybe trying to push it for B5 and B4, breaking up this structure, bringing out the knight, some threats. Maybe eventually this bishop will activate and become very powerful on this diagonal. Now trying to break open the structure around the black king. I don't think you can necessarily take here because that is just way too damaging. Typically removing your G-pawn will just lead to an immediate attack, and then you'll be able to bring a rook lift, and you'll just be able to start an attack. Granted, you remove the knight and remove 1 or 2 of the defenders. The knight now jumping into the center. I like this move a lot. Just a lot more active of a piece. The quick little knight reroute, very well done by black. Queen now slides over to D2, putting pressure on possibly placing the bishop onto H6 and trading itself off. Still ideas of capturing, but that would simply open up black's rook, and I don't really know if that attack would be valid. Now playing B5, black playing B5, taking up as much space as they possibly can. Both players only using a little under a minute of their clock, playing very quickly. The bishop now is trying to trade itself off. Now, in this position, typically you don't want to take. You don't want to take and allow the queen to get in. But I don't think that white has a good follow-up response in ways that, if you take, there's not really an attack here. But I wouldn't really want the queen here, especially with the rook. Maybe the rook can come in. So leaving white to take the bishop here, bringing up the king, is a lot better for black's position. Now king to h2 or king to h2, getting out of the line of sight of the queen. The rook now slides over, possibly trying to play d5 in the future, break up this structure and weaken the pawns. And we have amazing Digital Circus playing in the background. I know the YouTube people cannot. Oh my goodness. Oh, I messed up. Oh my goodness. The beginning half of the video is going to have music. That's actually tragic. I might have to do a lot of editing there. Oh no. Yeah, copyright music for my YouTube video. That's actually so tragic. Now losing the bishop, actually, an incredible move by black. The bishop now falls. That sucks. I forgot that I didn't change that. I'm going to have to figure that out in post, because this is probably one of the best tournaments that I've had. Now threatening rook takes knight, but the knight really can't move anywhere. Rook takes knight, takes, and we have this sort of position. That's unfortunate. Yeah, because we have a lot of music that has been playing throughout this tournament for the last hour or so. I know there's ways that I can remove the music, but it's going to kind of damage the audio just a little bit, which I'm very upset about. That is unfortunate, but it's okay. We live and we learn. It's still good for the stream. The VOD is still going to be posted, But now, yeah, the rook now slides over, putting immense pressure on the knight. The knight really can't retreat. And I thought this was completely winning for black, but now with the rook threatening the sacrifice, I think it's going to be about equal. You can ask to make a YouTube video to Vivo. I don't know. I believe there are some tools that I can use to remove the music, but I know it does make my actual mic audio slightly worse. But I would be able to explain that, and hopefully people would still watch. But that is okay. King c4 is kindly asking his opponent to win. Now black, with his longest think of the game, spending a whole 2 minutes on this move, really draining his entire clock, decides to strike in the center, completely giving up the knight for counterplay. I like this play. There's no real way to save the knight, and you definitely do not want the queen to ever get in. And now maybe you're opening up yourself to opportunities to where you're going to take the knight here and maybe damage the structure as much as you can. Okay. All right. But yeah, counterplay into the center of the board. Typically, if you're being attacked on the flanks, striking in the center is the correct principled counter response. But that is also just a full give up of a pawn. But at the same time, take and you bring the knight. So I like this move a lot by black. Still takes a knight, and you cannot take back. I mean, you can. The queen will come in. And I don't believe that there is an attack, but this rook is going to slide over to h1, and that's going to be a very dangerous threat. The queen now comes over with a check on the king. That is one thing about this position, is that this king is very weak. All of its pawns have completely abandoned the king for its own attack. Oh, man. Now, if there's any way to possibly, and we take, that's an interesting choice. That is a very interesting choice, because this rook is going to slide over, and that's just going to be immense pressure onto this pawn. You're going to have to find a way of defending it, and I really don't see how you do that. Decides to take, offering a queen trade. Never mind, that works. And now you can take back here. And now it's going to be two rooks. Oh, man. Okay. Two rooks for a knight or a rook for a knight and a bishop is essentially what we have devolved into. King xe4 now on the back foot, trying to recover himself. Actually, no, I think King xe4, I like his position significantly better here. Because now white is threatening to take, threatening to maybe give this check, bring over the rook with some discovered attacks, maybe try to bring the bishop into the game. Maybe even try to bring the knight here. A lot of moves for white. I feel like black is going to get quite stuck. Now, the pawn comes out attacking the knight. The knight can come out and give a check. It can also drop back. Several moves for white. You can't really enter the position anymore, because if you do so, the knight could very easily get stuck. The knight does decide to drop back. I'm very hopeful. I do think white has a very good position. But anything can happen. Literally anything can happen. Gives a check with the rook. quick little intermezzo before retreating the bishop. Now slides back. Very interesting moves. Now the bishop can come out and give another check. Maybe you want to slide the rook over, put pressure onto the e6 pawn. A lot of ideas here. The rook now slides over, putting pressure onto the knight. But I feel like the rook's gonna get stuck. It really can't leave. It's just gonna have to go back. It has literally no life on any of these squares. I guess maybe a4, but you do not want to put your rook to a4. It's just gonna have to retreat all the way back. Now you can give a check and then bring the knight. I really want to see pressure onto the backwards e-pawn, sort of pseudo backwards. Who replaced Gerv? I mean, I had 3 replacements. I don't know exactly who it was. It could very well be the person playing right now. But Hajilp saying black is easier to play, which I honestly, I would agree in some sense, because it's easier to coordinate 2 pieces than it is 3 separate pieces. But I feel like for skill gaps, if white is able to coordinate their pieces better, 3 pieces are better than 2. The knight now comes out with pressure onto the e-pawn. Maybe you can slide the rook over, try to put more pressure on it. Offers a trade of rooks. Very interesting. Just takes immediately. Now, I would love to see, I don't believe there's any tactics here, but I was looking at that briefly, but sadly the king can take. You can give another check, maybe try to take this pawn. And I like that move a lot. Sacrifices himself, but that is actually just a losing endgame. Because if you take, and then even if you win the rook, 2 on none with just the king is losing for white. But if you get a passed pawn, maybe there is some winning chances. But I do believe that this will just be losing for white. This is a losing endgame. Now this pawn can start going, and you can just start bringing your king. The pawn is going, and you're going to have to stop it. And then as soon as you try to stop this one's going to come forward as well. Tries to break out and get a passed pawn. That's pretty much all white can do at the moment. But I do feel like this is a losing endgame for white. Now, a passed pawn can still be created, waiting for the pawn to take another step forward. Now, these pawns are actually halted. Now that I'm looking at it, neither pawn can move forward. If this pawn moves, you go and you take it, and it's lost. And actually, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if this is actually losing for white. These pawns are very powerful. You can't take because you're no longer in the square. If you take, this pawn is going to start running. So you can't do anything there. There might be a Zugzwang situation where white simply runs out of moves, which would be very tragic. But oh man, white now with a decision. Black down to 20 seconds, but they do gain 2 seconds back every move. Okay. White now trying to think. I don't really know what they can do. I imagine just dropping back the king is probably the best thing you can do. Just making a waiting move. You might just have to shuffle pieces. But then again, you really can't. Yeah, it just drops back. King comes forward. You have to be very cautious. This pawn could go. I would still drop it back one more and try to gather this pawn, because I feel like there are some chances here. If the king even comes forward one more, there's a chance that this pawn could get loose, and you have to be very cautious there. This could also very well be a draw where both players are just kind of shuffling their pieces back and forth. But king xe4, I can tell, is a little bit scared. Now, if the king... The thing is, if the king comes forward, but now you can go. Pushes that pawn. And that's a free pawn. Oh my god, and that pawn's going to go. If you take, you get back, though, and then both of these pawns are going to fall. That is true. The king has to run. You can bring the king a little bit further. You can start bringing your own king. Why did black resign? What? Oh, black won by resignation. I don't think that's not a draw, though. I don't think this is a draw, dude. No, I think this is a draw. Like, if you move, takes... Like, there's no way to get back. If you bring the king, you have takes. But this is a draw. I actually think this is a draw. I'm going to look at this. I believe that the engine might tell me this is a draw. I genuinely think that you could have defended both of the pawns. Like, you might have... I'm not sure if opposition, like, if you could get opposition there. Yeah, dude, this was a draw. This is zeros. Why did you resign? This is zeros. Dude. Oh my goodness. King xe4 deciding to resign in a drawn king and pawn endgame. And no, y'all cannot join. The tournament's already going. I'm going into round 2. Oh my goodness. It's King xe4 resigning in a drawn position. What a travesty. Like a critical misevaluation. I'm sorry, dude. But the reigning tournament winner has been eliminated once again for the 9th time in the first round. Stepu saying he was pissed off as it was a draw because I was better, but he resigned. He did resign. There were plenty of moments here. Like in this game, it is completely winning for black as long as they start pushing. You can even bring the king. I'm not exactly... No, that's a draw as well. This is a very tricky position. I'm going to be real with you. You have to play f4 and start trying to push these pawns in tandem because the king can always get back to this pawn. And if you need to, you're going to be able to break open the structure. But goodness... Stepu, oh, I realized that I wasn't looking at, in this game, the only win here for black is to play f4 and then try to continue pushing these pawns, maybe even come this way. It's a very interesting position. What does the winner get? The winner gets a sub. But now we are moving on to round 2, which will be random wheel. Round 2. The wheel. All right. Congratulations to those who made it this far. We have our remaining 4 players. Wizard Asta, the underdog, at around 1,000 elo. Barat at around 1,400. And then King Husky and Stepu both above 2,000. Oh, man. It's not going to be 5+2. It's going to be 3+2 in pretty much all of these variants. 3+2 is fine. But to start for our first matchup, to give Stepu a little bit of a break, we're going to have Wizard Asta versus Barat. Now, to specify, for the random wheel, which I need to go get set up, there are a lot of variants on here, and each player does have a veto. So if they do not want to play one of these games, they are free to veto it. I'm keeping some things on here. I think I'm going to remove Behind the Mirror. I'm going to keep Derby Chess on. I'm going to remove Fog of War as well. We have a very good selection of variants here. I'm also keeping in 1-0 Bullet Chess 960 because that's always fun. But both players do have a veto. If they don't want to play the wheel that gets spun, they don't want to play this specific game, then they can remove it from the wheel. And it is best of 3. Best of 3. So Barat versus Wizard Asta. What will game number 1 be? I do want to make sure that both players are here. And if both of them could go ahead and go over to the variants page of chess.com, that would be huge. We have Spell Chess. Now, this is a fan favorite game mode where both players have certain spells that they can use as a free spell and a jump spell. There are also other rules to it of how frequently you can use a spell, but both players do have the option to veto this game. What's Spell Chess? You get spells and you play chess. That is Spell Chess. Both players don't know what it is, which honestly I think is good. I think this will be a very fun game as they both try to figure it out for game number 1. King XC4 says TheCager, what's up? You're saying my name. But Barrett and MH, both of y'all do have a veto. Are either of y'all wanting to use it? I mean, King XC4, even if it was a draw, you would go into a bullet game and you wouldn't win. You don't know that. You could still win the bullet game, you know? But okay. I'm going to go ahead and set up Spell Chess. If both Barat and Wizard Asta can go over to the variant section of chess.com, I'll go ahead and get it set up. HMY had a question. I'm going to go find it real quick. No problem. Tournament like this will happen in the future. Yes, every Friday. I host these tournaments every Friday at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and go over to the variant section, and I will invite both players to the game. Good luck, good luck, good luck. We have Spell Chess, a very exciting game mode. And I'm going to invite both players. It will be 3+2, so you have 3 minutes, 2 seconds back. Both Barat and Wizard Asta are in the variant section. Thank you for doing that. Now, I do believe that Wizard Asta is the lower rated player, so I'm going to go ahead. You'll drop a follow. Also, I post the announcements in the Discord on when to sign up for the TheCager Championship, so make sure to join the Discord as well. But, okay. Both players are in. I am going to go ahead and give Wizard Asta the white pieces just because he is the lower rated player in this matchup. And we will go ahead and get started with game number 1 of Spell Chess. Good luck to everyone playing. Will Wizard Asta make his second ever finale, or will Barrett actually clutch up for once? I have seen Barrett absolutely throw away games before, being up a full rook, a full queen. Now you have to understand, you do have spells, so make sure to take inventory of your spells and what they are capable of before you just start making moves or playing a normal opening. Because there are a lot of things that can happen, like you can move the queen and then give a freeze spell, and then maybe you'll be able to win with another jump spell. You have to be very cautious because there are a lot of things that you can do here. Both players not using either of their spells. They're just playing regular chess at this point. They are just, in fact, playing regular chess. Maybe one of them will decide, hey, I'm going to use a spell this time. That might happen. It might not happen. But they are just playing completely normal theory. It's a very regular game for spell chess. I'm surprised that both players have not used any of their utilities yet, but that is okay. Now, an opportunity here, something that is kind of fun, is you can play a free spell or a jump spell. I don't know. You can only play one spell at a time. The free spell, you have 5 of them for the game, and you have to wait 3 moves before you place it again. It covers a 3x3 square, and those pieces cannot move on the next turn. A jump spell is just a single square, and pieces can move through it as if it weren't there. So a lot of times, and decides to do a free spell. Now this doesn't really accomplish anything. At the moment, this doesn't do anything, but I like the usage of the spell. But now these pieces cannot move for this next turn. The next round, the finale has real chess, but round 2 is purely just variance. How long does the freeze last, dog? Just a single turn. Just for this next move for Barrett. Barrett is not able to move these pieces, but once he does, the free spell is deactivated. Now using a jump spell on the queen, this does not do anything at all right here. Thank you for the follow to Chess Grind. That jump spell literally does not achieve anything. Both players not knowing how to play. Can I choose the variant to play or not? Haha. We spin a wheel and you get a veto. There's about 10 to 15 or so variants. But yeah, that's the case there. Bishop now develops. Both players trying to use their spell, but not really understanding exactly how to use them. But that is understandable. And the finale will be best of 5, and there will be some regular chess on there. For the second round, I don't have any regular chess because we played regular chess in the first round. But the finale is a jack of all trades. You need to be good at everything if you want to have a very good chance at winning this tournament. There is a good bit of luck in this tournament that is something that I've noticed. If you get a variant that your opponent sucks at, you're golden. If you get a variant that you know how to play by heart, like let's say you know some atomic chess theory, and then atomic chess shows up, you're golden. It could be it's very interesting. We've had some absolute underdogs win the tournament. I think the lowest rated person to win the tournament was probably around 1,500. But any lower than that, we have not had anybody around 1,100 to 1,200 win this tournament. And both players here are candidates to win. One of them is going to the finale to face off for the title of the lowest rated winner of the Cager Chess Championship. There is 1-0 Bullet Chess 960. That is on the wheel, which I find very fun. Now a fork is on the board, attacking both the bishop and the knight. Gives a check. The king now has to come forward, and then you could probably even give a freeze spell, and then give another check, but then the bishop can take. I don't know. It's interesting. I haven't played spell chess really that much. The knight now jumps into the side of the board, just kind of losing itself. There's no point here. Now, taking the knight, there is slight tactic. We can go here, and then use a jump spell on your own pawn and capture the king. There are still ways to where you can win. Yo, how do I sign up for that? You have to join the Discord, and I post an announcement every Tuesday for the tournaments on Friday. So if you want to participate, you can make the YouTube video and you can play. Which the YouTube video might be very scuffed because I forgot to remove music that has been playing on stream for the first 3 rounds. So my audio might be absolutely cooked, and I am upset because we have probably had some of the craziest games of this tournament. But it happens. It happens, and I have to accept with that. But we've had some absolute heartbreakers happen on this tournament so far. We had one player who had 2 passed pawns on the side of the board, and they were completely winning, but they pre-moved just a little bit too quick, and they lost the game in the last little bit. It was tough because they were the favorite. They were 2,400 elo, and they just pre-moved just a little bit too quick. Wizard Ass is down to 20 seconds. Gonna have to make a move rather quickly. Running dangerously low on the clock. I would be terrified. Now, there is an opportunity. You could place a jump spell on this pawn and then take the rook, but decides to push the pawn. You do get 2 seconds back every time you make a move, but dangerously low on the clock at 12 seconds. The knight now comes forward. I would be terrified. Wizard Acid needs to make a move. Down to 6 seconds, 5 seconds, running out of time. Just continues to move his pawn. There are still opportunities here to place a jump spell on this pawn and then capture the rook with your queen. But running low on time, now down to 4 seconds, running almost going to run out of clock, and that's going to be game. Wizard Asta runs out of time, and Barat takes game number 1 of the best of 3. Oh my goodness. Wow, what a game. That's unfortunate. Both players didn't really seem to understand the special parts of spell chess, but that is okay. That is what happens, and that's how you balance things. One thing I've noticed is that if to give a fair chance to lower rated players, because chess is very much, if you're the better player, you're probably going to win unless something tragic happens. Variants are the best way to balance it in my own philosophy. But Barat, congratulations on winning game number 1. The series is now 1-0. Wizard Asta trailing. Will Wizard Asta be able to tie up the game, or is he going to get swept in round 2? Let's see what game number 2 will be. Now, just a reminder, both players do still have a veto, so if they do not want to play this next game, they can remove it from the wheel. Vetoes will reset in the finale. We have Atomic Chess. I was just talking about this one. This is essentially where your pieces just explode. All right. Theoretically, white is always winning. But if you don't know what you're doing, it really does not matter. All right, both players. Barat is deciding to veto this game, so I will remove it from the wheel. And we will respin and see what a new game 2 will be. We now have just regular, good old 1-0 bullet chess. Exciting. Pieces are going to fly off the board. If you know anything about bullet, you know just how chaotic it can be, especially for the lower elos. MH, Wizard Asta does have a chance to veto this game if he does not want to play the bullet chess. He does have that choice. He will be playing with the black pieces in this matchup. 1-0 is the easiest to win. I am waiting for MH's response. If he said it's okay, we can go ahead and get the game set up. Now, Barat, I'm going to need you to go ahead and send a challenge over to MH. Over to Wizard Asta. MH is deciding to veto. We will go ahead and remove it from the wheel. Now, no matter what, both players have used their vetoes. So this game, it will be played no matter what it is. And what do we got? That is so incredibly unfortunate. That is so incredibly unfortunate. We now have 1-0 bullet chess 960. You just made your life significantly harder. Now you have to figure it out, but the back row of pieces are completely shuffled. Good luck, brother. There's like 11 to 12 other game modes, and you somehow managed to get bullet chess 960. Now, go ahead and stay over on the variant side of chess.com, and I'm going to go ahead and send the matchup over just so I can kind of control when the game starts, and I can be there at the birth of the game. It makes it a lot easier on my side. If it was regular chess, I would have y'all send the invite, but since it is chess 960, I can do that through the variants page. So go ahead and stay over there, and I will get you invited. 1 minute, you get no time back. Wizard Asta, just a pro tip, you don't need to make the best move. Just make a move. That is how you play bullet. But okay, I am now inviting both players. Barat has been invited. Wizard Asta has been invited. Wizard Asta, if you could go ahead and go back over to the variant side of chess.com, and I will invite you. I'm sorry, Wizard Asta, but that is the way it goes. All right, I've invited you. Wizard Asta, you will have the black pieces. Barat with the white. All right, and let's begin. Good luck, good luck. We have bullet chess 960. The back row of pieces are completely shuffled. The king is in the normal square. The rook. This is a fairly normal board, all things considered. If this was any other game mode, that would be checkmate. The pawn now falls on the side of the board. But okay, I'm going to try my best to commentate this, but when the pieces are moving really fast, it is very difficult to do so. But pieces are moving. Wizard Asta still down a little bit of time on the clock. Your goal is to just play as fast as possible. You do not need to make good moves. You just need to make a move. That is the theme of bullet chess. Queen now drops back. The knight now comes forward. Barat getting a little bit of a time lead. Now giving a check and losing the queen immediately. That's unfortunate. That is incredibly unfortunate. What a play by Barrett. Good work. 9-0 comes in, takes a pawn. Another pawn is going to fall with check. This is not looking too good. And now there's a fork on the board, and one of these rooks is going to get lost. That is not good, because this is on the variance page. That's why the pieces look a little bit worse. Typically, my board is slightly better than this, but for variance, this is what the page looks like. Wizard asks down 10 seconds, and also a ton of material, is kind of struggling to get his footing in this bullet game. Taking a pawn on the side of the board. The queen now slides over. Just a shuffling move. Knight now comes in with pressure on the bishop and the knight. Bishop and the queen, sorry. Wizard asks the spinning a little bit too long to respond. Remember, you just got to play quick. You don't have to play correct. Barrett now taking a good 4-second think. That's a good time on the clock. Wizard asks doing the same. Wizard asks now down to 15 seconds. Gives a check. Brings the king forward. That bishop's going to fall. He had a block with the rook. Barrett with a 10-second lead, making a decision here with 18 seconds. 19 seconds still. Wizard asked it with 10. Going to probably run out of time, but anything can happen. Barrett can very easily choke this game. If Barrett wins this game, he is going to go on immediately into the finale. If Wizard Asta takes it, he is going to tie the series 1-1. Both players under 10 seconds. Barrett 8.5, Wizard Asta having to make moves with rapid succession. Now probably a good idea to pre-move. Blocks with the rook. Takes. Need to take back. You got to start pre-moving. You're going to run out of time. And Wizard Asta is going to run out of the clock. GG's, Wizard Asta, I'm sorry, but you have been eliminated from the tournament. Barrett, congratulations. You are going on to the finale of this ever Cager Chess Championship. Well, you will face off against either Stepu or King Husky MMA. Both of those players are going to give you a hell of a time. Like, it is going to be very difficult for you to play. Wizard Asta, you've been eliminated. RIP. Now, for our next matchup, it is going to be King Husky MMA versus Stepu. Both players do still have a veto. I'm going to add the games back onto the wheel, and we will reset. Okay, we are adding back Spell Chess, adding back 1-0 Bullet Chess, and Atomic Chess. All right, both players have a veto. I'm making sure that both of them are present. If y'all can go ahead and make your way over to the variance page, we can go ahead and get that going, so I can invite you as soon as the game has been selected. Good luck to both of y'all involved. Both of you were replacements today, so congratulations on making this far. Both players around 2,100 in regular ratings. You were unlucky first game, it lagged. That's tragic. Okay, let's see what game number 1 will be of the best of 3 matchup between King Husky and Stepu. What do we got? The first game selected is going to be Duck Chess. Duck Chess is the game mode selected. Now, if you don't know Duck Chess, essentially you're able to place a duck anywhere on the board after your move, and it blocks pieces from going through that square or being placed onto that square. You can use it to kind of halt the development of your opponent's position, but at the same time, your opponent is going to be able to place that duck on your side, so you're going to have to account to that. Stepu was okay with playing this game mode. I'm seeing if King Husky wants to play it. I'll save my veto for later. He says, okay. Okay, both players are agreeing to play this game mode. I will go ahead and get it set up. If both players can head over to the variance section, I will get you invited. And we will go right into it. All right, the time control is going to be 3-2. T. Voltios has been invited. Stepu, King Husky MMA, I'm going to invite you as well. What is your username, King Husky? Got it. Thank you. You were ready with that. All right, you have been invited. Please do not say my full name. It's fine, but don't do that. Both players have been invited. Now, because both players are about the same rating, I'm going to give King Husky the power of choice. You can choose a number 1 or 2. If you correctly choose the number, you will have the white pieces. He chooses the number 2. It is the number 1. So Stepu is going to have the white pieces, King Husky with the black pieces. All right. Let's go ahead and get game number 1 started with Duck Chess. Good luck, good luck. And the game has begun. All right. You do know that you have the full name on your... Oh, I do? Oh, that's fine. That's okay. Y'all can check me out on LinkedIn if you really want to. You know? Yeah, and see, after every move, you can place a duck. Now, no pieces can go to where the duck is, and it really does block the position. Both players have 3 minutes. We have a Sicilian defense, a Sicilian duck defense, never before seen. Both players have 3 minutes, and you get 2 seconds back every move. I'm curious to see what strategies will develop, but duck chess is one of the goofiest game modes, and honestly, one of my favorites because it's goofy, and I like goofiness. But who is going to go on to the finale? Who's going to win game number 1 of the best of 3? Who is going to take it? We still have a Sicilian duck. I love it. Are we going to get the open? Are we going to get the open Sicilian duck? We do get the open Sicilian duck defense. Oh my goodness. Theoretically, absolutely insane. Both players playing perfect Sicilian duck theory. But remember, this is still Blitz. I know you're taking a lot of time to think, but both players have already used a sixth of their time. Now, I'm not entirely sure how long duck chess games go, but I know that running low on the clock can make it very difficult for you to perform. Very good move by Black, taking the knight and then preventing the queen from recapturing, now going up a full knight. Very well spotted by King Husky. Very good move. And that's the power of duck chess. Now kind of blocking the retreating square, but I imagine you just drop the knight back into safety. And does so. And now the bishop does not have any line of sight towards the king. Very good play by Black so far. No complaints at all. Black is a little bit behind in development, but they are just up a full knight. So that's good. Oh, you're looking at AI of what AI says about me? Okay. Cool. I mean, I give some high-level analysis. I can still commentate games, but I am not a master. I feel like I've done a good job commentating for today's like regular chess games. I would like to think so. Because I do still have some strategy. I still do study it. And I know like theoretically a good chunk of stuff. Just my calculation kind of lacks occasionally. Okay, we have knight develops with duck to e5. But I'm totally fine with AI saying that. That's still sick that AI can actually analyze my stuff though. All right. The knight now develops. Both players playing rather slow. Stepu already down to 1:30 on the clock. That's going to get very difficult. You're saying duck takes f6. The duck cannot capture, but that would be interesting. Now pushing the pawn. Still trying to play a Sicilian defense. But Stepu down to under half his time left. Slowly but surely running out of time. King Husky down to 1:45. With a 20-second time lead. Maybe he wants to keep that up and play a little bit quicker. Okay, the duck is remaining confidently on d5, really stopping any pieces from ever transferring to this square. Now trying to kick out the bishop. All right, posture check, thank you. I was sitting like a gremlin. Okay. Now we have takes, the knight takes, or the bishop takes knight. We recapture. Now the king is open, but that's fine. As long as you get the bishop out and you castle, you should be okay. But honestly, I would be looking to place the duck here and maybe even trying to go for a checkmate eventually. Could be interesting. Stepu down to 54 seconds, 53 seconds, running very low on the clock. You do get 2 seconds back every time you make a move, but you don't want to be in that situation where that's what you're hoping for. The duck does block. Okay, the bishop now develops and puts the duck right back. Now we have queen and rook on the semi-open D file. The duck just kind of shuffling back and forth, doing a hop, skip, and a jump in the middle of the board. Oh, now jumps over the pawn, deciding it wants to play checkers today. The rook now slides over to a more, just a better spot, better square. Now, at the end of the day, white is still just down fully a knight. So if trades can happen, black will take this game. Duck chess is a lot about prophylaxis, I think, and attack. Prophylaxis. I can't pronounce that. I know what it is, though. It's about basically preventing your opponent from making moves. It's not about basically trying to get more moves yourself. It's about stopping your opponent's plans. That is prophylaxis. I pronounced it. Yay. Okay. We have the knight now coming forward. Lovely, lovely. All right, bishop now comes forward. Duck still in a very good spot. Stepu down to 25 seconds. All right, all right. Dub AI. Skill level 5 out of 10. Basic tactics, simple spotting ideas. Typical mistakes, blunders under pressure, missing strong continuation. You know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. Dub AI, I guess. All right, we did have an exchange. I believe a pawn was lost, but I'm Stepu now down to 10 seconds. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Gonna have to make a move very quickly, very low on time. This is just gonna be a win by the other guy. I forget his name. Oh my goodness, am I having a stroke? I do not believe so. But now White playing a lot faster, realizing that he's so low on the clock. All right. The Duck now in a very good spot. The White Knight actually very strong here. Black now taking some time to think. 45 seconds. Stepu still down to 8.5 seconds. Morning, Cage. How's it going, Fair is Fair? I accidentally had music playing for the first half of this tournament, at least in the recording process, so that's going to be a pain in the ass to edit, and the audio might be scuffed, but we did have some of the craziest games played in the TheCager Championship. Like, genuinely. They were exciting as hell. Now we have pawn takes pawn. The knight is now kind of loose. We have takes knight. I would imagine just capture back and then block the queen from recapturing the pawn. I like that play. Both players down to under 30 seconds. Stepu still a lot lower on the clock, and now down to 6.6. The rook now comes out, trying to put pressure onto this pawn. We have takes with check. The king will slide this way and prevent the queen from actually meeting with the knight. Okay. Both players under 15 seconds. Stepu really getting a lot of time back on the clock. Was down to 10 seconds, and Black had a full minute lead, but now the time gap is all but erased. Black now in the tank, with White now in form, playing very quickly, blundering a knight and blocking the recapture. Oh my god, and now the queen is going to fall. Oh, but he doesn't take. The queen was just completely hanging there. You could still take the queen. Take the queen and trade. Both players down to under 5 seconds. Moves are going to have to start being made rapidly. The Duck now sliding everywhere. Playing very quickly. We have, oh my goodness, both players under 10 seconds. Pieces are now just sliding. The Duck is being placed literally wherever, because you have to make your move and then place the Duck, and that can take time. That is why you'd get 2 seconds back. But now we have a trade of rooks, I would imagine. Stepu down to 5 seconds, but now up a rook and has a pawn going down the side of the board. That pawn just needs to go, but can he convert this position with 4 seconds remaining on the clock, or is he going to run out of time? Down to 1 second. Oh my goodness. Down to 3 seconds. As very little time on the clock. Black now gaining a lot of the time lead, trying to make his moves very quickly. Moving the Duck is what makes this so difficult. Both players now just completely shuffling, not allowing the rooks to come forward. Oh my goodness. Black playing incredibly well, always putting the Duck in front of the rook. Now we're going to have probably, okay, now the king comes forward, and we have takes. The Duck now here. White down to 2 seconds. Literally made a move with 1 second on the clock. 3.5. This is going to come. Is White going to be able to convert this position? Is checkmate going to be able to be delivered here? Oh my goodness. Pieces are just going. I am struggling to understand this. There is 2 second increment to this. Oh my god, the king is now coming down the board. Holy cow. You can now probably give a check. I have no idea. I can't even process what's going on, but the Duck plays are insane. Stepu now gaining a little bit of time back on the clock is probably going to end up taking this one. You can now take another pawn, but you blunder the rook. Oh, but the rook isn't taken. Oh my goodness. The rook could have absolutely fallen there. And the king is captured because in Duck chess, you're supposed to capture the king. Oh my goodness. Whoa. And White takes the win for game number 1 of the best of 3 matchup. My hair is looking goofy as hell. I will hydrate. Thank you. Delicious. Okay, I might need to go refill up my water in just a second. All right. What a crazy variant. That was insane. Came down to the final seconds. Stepu barely holding on, but taking game number 1. Let's go ahead and see what game number 2 will be. Reminder, both players do still have their veto, I believe. So let's see what we got. What will game number 2 be? We have God damn it, I have to pay for another sub. Okay. Let me go let me go get the sub. Who is going to get the sub? Last time we had our boy Timothy. Our boy Timothy win the sub. Let's see who's going to get it this time. All right. I'm going over to my Twitch and I'm going to buy a sub. Who is going to get it? Gifting one sub. Who is going to get the sub? Who will get it? Gifted a sub to Witty Alien? Whoa, wait, is Witty watching right now? Ain't no way. Actually? And it went to Witty? Yo, dude, what's up? That's insane. Dude, thank you for stopping by. That's crazy. What's up, Witty? That's crazy that the sub went to you, man. Thank you. Much love. Thank you for the support for watching. That's crazy. That's a crazy plot twist. Last time it was fucking Timothy, and I don't know who he is, but Witty's casually lurking, watching. Dude, hype. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. All right. Let's go ahead and see what game number 2. It doesn't say he's on the viewer list, but he could be lurking. I'm not entirely sure, but regardless, the sub did go to him. So he has to be here somewhat. But okay, let's see what game number 2 will be. Congratulations on the sub, though. All right, and we have Crazy House. That's crazy. So if you are to capture your opponent's piece on your next move or future moves, you're able to place that piece back down on the board on any spot using your turn. Both players do still have their veto. They are welcome to veto. You do have the option. Stepu is okay with playing it. I am now sliding over the option to Husky. Husky is also down to play. Both players agree to play this game mode. Beautiful. All right. Let's go ahead and set up the game. If both of you can go ahead and stay over at the variant side of chess.com, we will set up Crazy House. Now, because Husky did have the black pieces, he will now have the white pieces, and Stepu will have the black pieces. That is how that works. Both of y'all could go ahead and go over to the variant side. That would be great. I'm inviting both players now currently. All right, Stepu will have the black pieces. Husky will have the white pieces. Now, if Stepu is able to win this game, he will go on to the finale where he will be facing Barat in a best-of-5 matchup. But if Husky can win this one, he will tie the series 1-1. Let's see who's going to win this. Good luck to both players. Good luck. All right, and the game has begun. Reminder, this is Crazy House. If you capture your opponent's piece, you are able to place it right back onto the board. You just formally today. Yes, because I'm hosting a tournament. I must. I have to. It's tournament day. Now we have a cat already in exchange, and now these pawns can actually just be placed anywhere on the board. That is how it works, and I love how chess.com allows me to draw the arrows. I wish it easily let me do that, but wear hat, French garlic toast. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now we do already have a capture on the board. I don't want my mic to fall. Okay. Beautiful. The hat has been adorned. Thank you. Papa, I'm so sorry for the last 2 CCC. I was getting schedule bombed. Trust me, I understand. Okay. I mean, the bishop you could go ahead and take. That is just an option. Trust me, I get it, dude. There have been times where I had to kind of stop streaming for a bit because my finals and stuff really were picking up like crazy. And I had to kind of relax. There are opportunities. Like I was looking at, like you could place a, I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can do here. I don't believe that you can place a pawn on the back rank of the board because that just wouldn't be fair, but you can place a pawn on the 7th rank or the 2nd rank. That is an option. Stepu already using a full minute on his clock. That could be very dangerous, but I know with this game mode, it can get, there's a lot more pieces that you kind of have to, a lot more variables that you kind of have to deal with. The knight is now placed on the, or is brought to C3, sorry. Pawn push, kind of solidifying the position. Now, you do want to get your pieces back onto the board. I know you're trying to wait for the perfect opportunity to place the knight, but sometimes it's better to just have the material there. Not necessarily in the best spot, but just there. Because if you start getting bombarded by pieces and you don't get an opportunity to place it back, you are just going to be down some firepower. The rook now slides over, kind of putting more pressure here. Maybe we're looking at a future pawn break, trying to get some activity over on these diagonals. King Husky with a full minute lead on the clock, playing very well. The knight is now placed on the board with a threat onto one of the dark square bishops. I like it. Now we have a rook lift that is played. Now the knight could take, you could take back, and, you know, things can happen. Okay. Stepu now spending about another 20 seconds making a decision here. He is pretty good at playing low on the clock, but I wouldn't willingly want to go there. Now, the knight jumps out to the side of the board, plays b3, just to kind of prevent the knight from coming in. We have bishop out and rotates. Now, we finally have a capture. I believe it was bishop takes. That's actually just a loss of a piece, isn't it? Because now we could have had knight takes. Knight takes, and I believe a piece would have lost. But this is also just a fork of the knight and the rook. Very well spotted and played by black. Bishop now drops back. Now you can take the rook. I probably would have just taken the bishop for free, but hey, to each their own. White now has 2 bishops in reserve with black just having a rook. ChatGPT chess. That's fair. Okay, but Stepu only with a minute 15 left. That could be very dangerous as we start going into an endgame. But I know that those bishops are going to come alive. Having 4 bishops, it's having 4 bishops on the board is crazy. And it'll be honestly very difficult to calculate. But I feel like it's easier to calculate with 4 bishops than it is 4 knights. So the queen comes over and centralizes. An incredible pawn placement by white. That pawn is just completely solidified, and now this knight is going to fall, utilizing this pin. Very well spotted by white. That pawn, low-key, it was taken at the very beginning of the game, but now it is coming alive. We have takes. Okay. Now you can also probably... you have options to take the pawn and then place the bishop again, but I don't think I really want to go into any of that. Okay, you could probably just drop back the bishop, or maybe even place a bishop there. That's very exotic. There are lines to where we have takes, and then you place a knight here with check. There are some futures where that could happen. But I do believe that knight takes and you're fine. I could be mistaken. Well, knight takes, actually no, because you're going to have that discovery. Okay, so we have bishop takes bishop, or pawn takes bishop, sorry. Bishop now comes out with a skewer. The knight can never move because there will be a discovery. But now you can just take. Oh, that's a huge mistake by black. Now down to 20 seconds. King Husky absolutely dominating the second game. He is going to tie it up 1-1, and we're going to go into a best of 3. Is this tandem chess? No, it is just Crazy House. Now giving a check. But that is just going to be checkmate with 3 bishops, or checkmating with a pawn. An incredible move. But wow, yeah, King Husky is going to tie the series 1-1. And we are going to go on to a game 3. We love to hear it. Oh, the best words ever said in the TheCager Chess Championship. Let's go see what game number 3 will be. Removing Crazy House now from the wheel. Now, I do believe that King Husky has a veto, but I think which person used the veto? I know somebody did, or maybe nobody has. I don't know. Let's see what game number 3 will be. This will be the deciding game, and we have spell chess once again. Very exciting. Now, spell chess, we saw it earlier today. Both players didn't really have an understanding of how to play it, but doesn't even matter. King Husky is going to veto the game immediately. Now, let's re-roll. What do we got? What game will be played? We have 1-0 bullet chess 960. We can run it again. Now, Stepu, I'm not sure if you have a veto. I believe you might. You're welcome to veto this one. But both players are also still totally welcome to play. Veto. All right, it has been removed. Now, there is still 1-0 bullet chess here, but the rest are variants. I really want to see a Horde selection. I have not seen Horde in the TheCager Chess Championship yet. Oh my goodness. And now we have the micro version of Crazy House. That's a selection and a half. Oh goodness gracious. Mini house. Basically, Crazy House, but on a much smaller scale. Instead of having all of the pieces at your disposal, you only have 4, plus your king. Let's go get this game set up. If both players could please remain on the variants page of chess.com, I will get it set up. Exciting. Now this is an unfortunate matchup for Stepu because he wasn't that great at Crazy House, and this is a micro version of it. Maybe he can clutch up. It's like Crazy House. Yes, it is. but on a much smaller scale, on a micro scale. I'm now inviting both players if they can go ahead and join. Stepu, I've invited you. We have King Husky already in the lobby. Now, Stepu, you are going to have the white pieces. King Husky, you will have the black pieces. And this is the board. If you haven't seen it before, it's regular Crazy House, except on a much smaller scale. All right, good luck, good luck. And Lewis the Six Chess. It's my first time here witnessing this, and this is so interesting to watch and fun. Thank you. I actually really do enjoy putting on these chess championships. I used to do it far more infrequently, but now it's an every Friday thing, and signups fill like that, and it makes me really happy as a streamer that people are so interested in this. And I feel like I've gotten better at announcing. Granted, my first few were rough. I can bring pieces I take, right? Yes, you can. You can place them right back on the board after you capture them. Now let's begin. Stepu with the white pieces. King Husky with the black pieces. Thank you for the follow, Senior Abduskin. Much love. Thank you. Sending a heart. This is a heart. Look at me. Look. Wow. All right. Okay. Stepu with the white pieces. King Husky with the black pieces. Let's begin. Already using a chunk of his clock, trying to understand the board state, bringing out his bishop with an attack onto the rook. This has been, I've seen championships decided with Mini House. It is one of the coolest openings or coolest games that it could just get so intense, especially when time trouble gets real and pieces are flying and being placed, checks are being given, pieces are being placed down. It can get incredibly intense. Well, thank you. Is it Lois? I think it's Lois. It could be Louise. I think it's Lois. Thank you. I appreciate it. Much love. I do post all of these on YouTube. Granted, the first half of this video, the audio might be a little bit scuffed. And the pawn can get dangerous. I do believe that there are promotions. I don't think you can promote to a queen, but you can make a rook, bishop, or a knight. That is from my understanding. I do post, yeah, the first part of the video is going to be a little bit scuffed, mainly because I kind of goofed and I had music playing, or at least I had the recording audio also take in the music. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but it happens, and that is okay. Now, the bishop comes out. I'm curious of what the main strategy is. Maybe you want to try to, I don't know. The knight doesn't really have any movement. Maybe you want to start pushing this pawn. Regardless, Stepu is spending a lot of time on the clock here. Yeah, wants to push the pawn. You can't push it twice, not in this mode. You can promote to a queen. I did not know that. A queen would be insane. Now imagine promoting to a queen and then your opponent takes it. If your opponent takes a promoted pawn, queen, does it become a pawn again, or is it a queen? That is a question, a rules question that I have. The pawn now pushes one more, the bishop now dropping back, kind of blocking the promotion square. It's going to be very difficult for white to really make any moves because, I mean, the knight can't come out. I mean, now offering a trade of rooks, very interesting. Now, the one thing about this is black, okay, black gives a check. You could take with check, white could take back, and then you could place your rook back first. That is kind of the strategy in a lot of crazy houses, is to overwhelm your opponent with material, but also not lose. Now, that pawn is going. That pawn is 2 squares away from queening, and that could get very dangerous. Black's bishop is very strong square on the board, but now attacked by the knight. It's going to have to move. It's going to have to move here. That's really the only safe square for it. Now, there is an opportunity here to play a check first and then to recapture. There's some fun stuff. It could get very interesting, but that pawn is on its way to promotion. This could get very interesting. We have a check that's given. The king will probably come up. And then another, but you can't come up because then there will be another check. Oh my God, but you have to. The rook is going to get lost. Oh my, wait, that's going to almost be checkmate. A lot of checks are going to get. We're going to have check. The king has to come right back down. Another check will be given, and pieces are going to start falling off the board. Another check. Oh, but it brings the bishop instead. Now trying to give a checkmate. I would have just taken the rook. I would have just taken the rook with check. Goodness. Oh, this is anybody's game now. The rook now slides over. There are no checkmates. And this pawn is still very, very close to promoting. The rook cannot give checkmate on that square. This pawn is also very close. This is an incredibly close game. Now, if you take the knight, the pawn will promote. You might get your own pawn, but it's going to be traded back. Oh, goodness. That pawn is very close. We promote to a rook and give a check. Now we take with the knight. Now white is up a bishop. Black does have an extra pawn, and this pawn is going to go. This pawn is very close to promoting. Apparently we have Alleluia playing for whatever reason. Sure, I'm fine with it. A check is given with the black knight. Now the king has to move. This pawn is still very dangerous. Very dangerous. Very close to promoting. But it seems like it's stopped right now. White now is able to place a bishop anywhere on the board and give a check if it really wants to. Tries to trade off the rooks, but now you can place a bishop here with check, possibly. I'm not sure if that's actually the best idea. You can't take. Maybe you want to, oh man, this is actually a very interesting position. I'm not sure how white responds, but white has to make a move. They have 15 seconds left on the clock. They are very low on time. Places a bishop with check. Now the king has to come down. Another check can be given with the rook. The king has to come down once again. King cannot retreat to either of these squares. The only move is to either block with the rook, which will be taken, or to bring the king down. Black now spending a considerable amount of time on this move. I guess they could also come to this square. They have either of these squares to go to. The knight may fall, but this pawn is very close to promoting. Oh my goodness. But now, once the king comes down, you could probably bring your bishop here to stop the promotion and then take the knight. You can also give a check. That check is dangerous, but now we are just protecting promotion and threatening to take the knight. The knight now comes forward, but the promotion square is stopped. We have takes, and gives a check. The king now has to drop back or slide over that way. It gives another check. King is now on the run. Black with all of the initial, and you can now place a knight with check. Oh, a moment there. You could have placed the knight with check and won the rook back. Well, it would have been taken with promotion, but that's besides the point. Okay. Probably block with a counter check with the knight, or places the knight with check. I love that move. Getting his piece off the side of the board. White only with 4 seconds left on the clock. Can they find a checkmate here? Down to 3 seconds, 2 seconds, playing moves as fast as they possibly can. Gives another check. King is now banished to the edge of the board, starts bringing the king. This pawn can now promote with a check. But checkmate is almost given. Oh my goodness. What will happen? Promotes to a knight. I don't think you could promote to a queen then. Otherwise, a queen would have absolutely been made. Another check is given. Now protected. You have to come this way or here. Now, the knight can come in, but we have another check. Another check is given. We have a rotation. Are we going to get a draw by repetition? That would be crazy. Gives another check. Lots of checks on the board. Now we can give another check with this knight. Gives a check with the bishop. Is white going to be able to find a checkmate here? They're very low on time. Discovered attack onto the rook with the check. The rook now falls. Black with only a knight left and can also place a bishop and a pawn, but that's going to be all but over. Is white going to be able to convert this game? Gives another check, has to go back to the corner, and that's going to be checkmate. But he doesn't find it. Checkmate was just on the board. Gives a check with the pawn, gives a check with the bishop. The king has to move. Gives a check with the pawn. The king is going to have to move once again. We have takes. Takes a knight. White now does have 2 pawns. Forks both the king and the rook. 1 rook falls. Black has now gained a rook back. What a roaring comeback. This is now anybody's game. I don't believe that there is a checkmate anymore. Gives a check with a pawn. King slides over. Is that checkmate? That's checkmate with the pawn. Oh my goodness. Dude, black started getting some crazy comeback chances. That was intense as hell, but checkmating on the side of the board with both pawns. What an incredible game. Oh my goodness. Oh. What an amazing clutch by Stepu. This is Mini House. If you capture a piece, you're able to place it back on the board, still fades. What an incredible comeback and clutch up by Stepu, who has won the series 2-1 and is now moving on to the finale to face off against Barat in a best of 5. I'm sorry, Husky, but you, sir, have been eliminated from the tournament. Thank you for participating. But now we're on to the finale. 6 players have been eliminated, and we only have 2 remaining. We have the favorite I can't spell champion, apparently. Championship. Good luck. Good luck. I will hydrate. I do need water. I realize I am out of water here, but trust me, I will hydrate plenty after this stream. Actually, I will go get some water. I don't want to leave right now because I do kind of want to get into the tournament. I apologize. I will hydrate eventually, okay? Just not right now. But okay, we have Berat versus Stepu. Berat is the underdog by nearly 600 rating points, coming in at a whopping 1,200 to 1,300 rapid and blitz elo. Stepu at 2,100, I believe, is his all-time high. Barely clutching up in a lot of these games. No, he is known to get into some serious time trouble. We are now going to go over to the wheel where everything is going to be on here. We are going to have duck chess. We are going to have spell chess. We are going to have 10-0 rapid chess. Crazy House, 10-0 rapid chess 960, 3-0 blitz chess, and 1-0 bullet chess 960. Those have been added to the wheel in addition with the variants. Now, as I said before, both players do have one veto. If a game is shown and they do not like the game, they can remove it from the wheel permanently for the rest of the finale. But you have to use it wisely, because if you do not have your veto, if you've already used your veto and a game comes up that you really don't like, you are stuck and you have to play it. Okay, let's go ahead and see what game number 1 will be. And by the way, Berat, you will start with the white pieces as you are the lower rated player. What will game number 1 be? Good luck. Good luck. The wheel is spinning. The suspense is high. We just have good old 3-0 blitz chess. This is probably one of the most unfair matchups that you can get in terms of straight elo. But Berat, you did lock in for your first game. If you want to play 3-0 blitz, you're welcome to. Stepu is saying, let's go. Oh my goodness. Berat, you do have your veto. I'm not sure if you want to use it here. I feel like you still do have a decent chance at winning the 3-0 blitz chess. You'll play it. Berat absolutely just flexing his muscles, basically saying your rating don't mean anything right now. I'm going to take you on. I love to see it. All right. If you can go ahead and send the game to each other, Berat, if you can send the game over to Stepu or Stepu to Berat, that would be fantastic, and I will spectate. Berat, you will have the white pieces for any matchmaking. Stepu, his name is on the screen of Berat09105, but he has posted it into the chat. All right, I am pulling it up now, and we will get right into game number 1 of this incredible finale. Now, I want Berat to win. Personally, I'm an underdog fan. Granted, for March Madness, I wanted Duke to win, and I actually cried when that final shot with UConn went in. Like, I was so upset because they were up by 19, and then they lost. It hurt. It hurt my soul. But here, Berat, I know you've been participating in these tournaments. You are a longtime viewer. I want you to win this one. No offense to Stepu, of course. But all right, the game has begun. Game 1 of the Cager Chess Championship finale. We have a Sicilian defense, Lowenthal variation. Starts with e4, c5. This is what happens. We have an open Sicilian with captures. A rather strange pawn structure by black, but that is what the Sicilian kind of offers. Bishop now drops back. I don't think you should play g5 here, because that would... Where's your king going to go? The pawns in front of your king cannot move as much. I imagine you're going to have to drop back. This pawn is going to be a little bit weak. Maybe this bishop will come out eventually. I would like to see bishop out to bishop to a6. I feel like that's a very strong move right away, kind of forcing the king or the queen to start shuffling. Now, a mistake can already happen. Okay, very well done. Oh, man. Did you use these doodles for them? Yes. Yes, I have. Now taking, I would like, because it completely damages white's pawn structure, and this game is already going into an endgame. The doubled, isolated c-pawns could be an incredible weakness for Berat to try to bounce back. But also, Berat, with the 20-second time lead, already taking the initiative on the clock, which, as we have seen earlier in this tournament, Stepu really does struggle. Really does struggle on the clock, especially in late-game situations. He was able to clutch up, but getting so low on the clock and having to make panic moves isn't the strategy. It shouldn't be the strategy. But the bishop slides back, since there is no longer a pin on the knight and the queen. Rook now slides over to the open file, completely open b file. I would like to see a trade of rooks, but you also don't really want to lose your a-pawn, because if this a-pawn falls, this one's going to come in. Now we have a queen infiltration. I don't believe anything has been blundered just yet. I imagine the rook might slide right back over, put pressure on the queen. Queen's going to have to drop back. But the rook comes forward. Actually a very solid move by black. now wanting to double his rooks and actually kind of lock the queen away. The queen is kind of stuck where it's at right now. It really doesn't have many squares. So if there's a case where this rook can come here protected, that could be very bad for white. Both players at about equal time, already using about a minute on the clock. We have queen to a7, just trying to give an escape square for the white queen. The rook now doubles itself on the open b file. Very, very principled and well done by black. The queen now drops all the way back, putting protections here. But I imagine rook to b2 is going to come in and hit like a truck, putting pressure on the c2 pawn and the a2 pawn. There was an opportunity for a4. I didn't see that. Okay. Or you mean a4 with the pawn. That is true. a4 with the pawn could have been used, and then the rook would have had to drop all the way back. But now the bishop slides back, protecting the c3 pawn. But now one of these pawns is going to fall. Maybe. I mean, it's really up to what black wants to try and do. Because do you really want to give up your doubled rooks for just one of these measly pawns? That is possible. But I imagine taking on a2, bringing the queen, and then bringing the other rook and playing on this file is very well done. A great counterattack by white, now kind of preventing black from taking either of these pawns as the rook will hang. The knight now comes into a much more active spot, trying to get into the game with possibly a check on e2, and then taking the pawn here. There's opportunities. The a5 pawn does fall. The a5 pawn does, in fact, fall. But now you can take, I believe you could take on c2, but that's honestly kind of dangerous. Both players actually playing surprisingly well. Barat very much holding his own against this 2100. Playing out of his mind. The c2 pawn does fall. And now there is pressure on to the c3 pawn. But it is defended. Okay. Now, I believe a check can be given and a pawn could fall. I am looking at queen to e2. Or not queen to e2, but knight to e2 check. Trying to win this pawn back. The queen now comes over. The knight gets hit. But that just kind of induces wanting to give this check. Gives a check on the outside instead. King comes forward. Now you can take either, you could take the bishop if you wanted to, but decides to give another check, utilizing the pin on the pawn. Now we could have a draw by repetition. We could have a draw by repetition. If that were to happen, we wouldn't play a bullet game. We would just respin the wheel. But now both rooks doubling on the second rank. These rooks are a powerhouse right now. And honestly, I would be shaking in my goddamn boots if I saw this on the board. I'm not sure what I would do. Decides to bring the queen up to a7, defending the bishop. That's a very good spot by white, because now you can take back and you could trade and you can go into an in-game. Oh, but that's just rook for queen. That's like that. Okay. Barat now having to defend this. I thought it was a good move, but there was just too much pressure on the f2 square. But now we'll see if Stepu can convert this game. There is no bonus time, by the way. You do not get any time back for any moves that you make. The time you have on the clock is your total time for the game. Normally it is 3+2, but this way is looking very bad for white as he just blunders a rook and white decides to resign. Barat, honestly, fantastic performance. You really did hold your own against the 2100 for as long as you can. But sadly, you will lose game number 1. And Stepu takes a 1-0 lead in the best of five series finale. All right, let's go ahead and see what game number 2 will be. I will remove this from the board and also remove the other 3-minute blitz. I don't actually think I have another 3-minute blitz. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's begin. What will game number 2 be? What do we got? Haha, we have giveaway chess, where your goal is to get rid of all of your pieces on the board. This could be good for Barat. I'm not sure if Stepu really knows how to play this game mode. The way you win is by losing every single point of your material, and captures are forced. If you are able to capture a piece, you are forced to, sort of like checkers. But Barat is wanting to play this one. I believe I am giving Stepu the option. Stepu can veto this game mode if he does not want to play it. He does still have that choice. He says, okay, both players agree to play it. Let's go ahead and get it set up. If both of y'all could go ahead and go over to the variants page of chess.com, we will get the game going. We will get game number 2 going. Can Barat tie the series 1-1, or will he go down in a 2-0 deficit to Stepu? All right, we have giveaway chess. give away. All right. Remember, captures are forced. If you're able to capture a piece, you have to. Your goal is to get rid of every point of your material. That is the game. Now, Barrett, you will have the black pieces, and Stepu will have the white pieces, and we shall begin. Good luck. Good luck. All right. All right. Barrett and Stepu clearly route. Oh my goodness. Stepu has played a fair bit of giveaway chess, being rated 1700 in this format. That's scary. I would be scared. Forcing this pawn to capture literally everything. I love that. Now you do have to capture back. And now this rook is going to come alive, possibly. Bishop now comes out, and you have to take. Or you can take with the rook here. I like that move a lot. Now one of these captures has to happen. Barrett's locking in. I can tell that he is ready to play this. Now the knight does have to capture. But yeah, that's the thing about giveaway chess. You're trying to put your pieces in ways that your opponent can capture. The queen now comes out, and the knight is forced to capture it. Very good move by white. King now steps over because a knight is going to have to gobble the pawns and continue to gobble pieces. These are not going to be able to do anything as more pieces are going to continue to fall. White now taking the upper hand, losing far more pieces than black. Using the queen as a bait to bring the knight in to start gobbling everything. White now having to make a decision, decides to bring the knight out. Now we have captures. Captures back with the bishop. Okay, captures again with the bishop. Now brings the king. Takes with the queen. But this could be dangerous because now you simply just need to bring a piece in front of the queen, and now we're going to have capture. And now this queen is quite literally going to take everything in the position. And I think Barrett might lose this game. He's going to have to start capturing everything. Pieces are going to start following. Thank you for the follow, Adapity. I very much appreciate it. Much love. The knight now comes back, but it's too little too late. There's no way for black to win this game as white is just going to continue to line up all of their pieces and give them up. That is an RIP. Where king game is over. No, it's giveaway chess. You have to get rid of all of your pieces. Taking the king does not matter. You want to give up your king. But yeah, the rest of the pieces are going to fall, and it's just a matter of time before Stepu wins this game. RIP Barrett, who's going to take a 2-0 series deficit in this tournament. That is incredibly unfortunate. But will we see the first ever 2-0 comeback in this championship? I know there was a time where it got very close with King XC4, and that's a stalemate, and white wins. As white does not have any, you do also win by stalemate. So white does take the victory and will win and put the lead up to 2-0. Stepu now one game away. Sorry, I'm like stuttering. Now one game away from winning it all and being crowned the TheCager chess champion. Barrett, can you lock in and win the next 3 in a row to have the most legendary comeback of all time? Both players still do have access to their veto, and we will see what game number 3 will be. All right, what do we got? What will game number 3 be? All right, we are back to Mini House. Both players do still have... I have not set up the prediction, sorry. Both players do still have the veto if they do not want to play Mini House again. I feel like Stepu, having some experience earlier in the tournament, Barrett is saying big veto. Honestly, totally fair. I will remove it from the wheel. Stepu does have experience playing Mini House earlier in the tournament, so I can understand why that veto is used. Especially this late in the game, you cannot lose a game 3, so it's best to use your veto now. Now we just have straight up 10-0 rapid chess. This is a finale. This is a finale. Can Barrett lock in and win this 10-0 rapid chess? A huge underdog here, being down over 700 rating points in this matchup. If Barrett manages to win this game, that would be the most legendary victory ever. Stepu is like, come on, baby. He is putting on his fighter's cap. He is ready to go. And Barrett does not have a veto. So good luck. Good luck to both parties. Let's go ahead and get this game set up. Now, Barrett, you are going to have the white pieces. If you could go ahead and send an invite to Stepu or vice versa, and we will get the game going. Game 3 of the Cager Chess Championship. Is it going to be a 3-0 sweep, or is Berat the underdog by nearly 700 rating points? Can he win this 10-0 rapid game? Just a pure fight to the death. All right. This is going to be like Naruto Sasuke when all of their chakra is out. There is no special things. The game has already started. Sorry. They are already off to a start. We have an English, and we are at this position now currently, breaking out with e5. So far, I do like Berat's play, but now blunders a bishop immediately. Oh, God, no, it's already over. Oh, everything is bad and awful in the world. Oh, my goodness, no. Oh, no. No, Berat already losing a bishop. That is a travesty. Oh my goodness. And now black just taking all of the advantage, now trading queens. It is all but over. There is no way to come back here. That is way quicker than what I thought. You should not have been blitzing in the opening. And now the bishop also falls because it got trapped in the corner of the board. Now white just trading off everything, knowing that it is, in fact, hopeless here. That is incredibly upsetting. Damn. R.I.P. to Berat. You put up a very good fight, but now, out of respect for both of the players, we will watch until the end and then crown Stepu the winner. But I don't want to call my shots too early. There is still very much a chance for Stepu to just throw everything away. It could go crazy. I'm very curious. I don't think it will happen, but oh man. A draw would have been huge, but now the outside pawn will fall as well, and it is all but over. Yeah, this is... If you placed your bets on Stepu, if you placed a $100 bet, you would maybe win 2 pennies. It is not looking good. Not looking good at all. But hey, literally anything can happen. Another check can be given with the pawn. The king is going to come up. Watch a checkmate somehow occur. That would be insanity. I don't think it will. The king now comes forward. A check could be given. That was just check, or almost checkmate, actually. The knight now comes forward with check, drops back. It is all but over. You can now possibly take another pawn. I don't believe you have anything. You should have done a prediction cage. MH, trust me, I know. I should have done it at the very beginning of the tournament, before games were even played. But I apologize. There will be ones for future tournament. I just kind of glossed over it. I mean, a stalemate could happen. Oh my God, wait, is that stalemate? You could stalemate. You could absolutely stalemate here. If you take the rook, that's a draw. Oh my goodness. Are we going to see a stalemate? Gives a check. Has to come back, but now you have some escape moves and then you lose. It was so close. Oh, it was so close. You give a check with the bishop first. That's so unfortunate. I like the effort though. That was... Damn. Okay. Now the king slowly running out of squares and out of pieces. Just sacrifices the rook. And now starts bringing the king to try to deliver a checkmate. A stalemate could still happen. Berat now desperately fighting for a draw. Both players with 8.5 minutes still on the clock. They could easily run out of time. But it seems like Stepu was going to take this one home. The king now comes forward. You could slowly run out of moves. It could get scary. King now comes forward, but the spaces are limited. Gives a check. Just gonna take the pawn now. The pawn is now a few steps away from promotion. You can bring the king, but then you're going to slide over and that pawn's going to promote, and you have no way of stopping it, and that is going to be a game. And he makes a rook just to be an asshole. The knight now comes forward, and a checkmate will eventually be delivered. There is a 50 move rule possibly. If a checkmate is not found within 50 moves, there could easily be a checkmate. That just sacrificing his pieces so he can checkmate with rook. And you know what? I understand. I get it. I get it by black. I understand why they did that. Just get rid of all the pieces and now do a checkmate that you know, so you don't have to run out of moves. Just kind of shuffling pieces now. I mean, there are ways to checkmate with rook and... Okay, yeah, slowly bringing the king over. Surely but surely. Now kind of moving the king all the way into the corner of the board. It is now stuck there. King comes up and then slides over. And that will be a checkmate. Well done. Berat, I am sorry. But sadly, mate, thank you for participating, but you have been eliminated from the tournament. And that means that Stepu is the champion of the Cagers Chess Championship. Congratulations, a 3-0 sweep in the finale. Very well done. You had some very close games against King Husky, but you locked in and you were able to find the checkmates. I applaud thee. Very well done. I will gift you a sub in just a second, but if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really does support the channel quite a lot. And thank you for all of my contestants who participated today. All of your games were actually fire. All right, like the round 1 was probably some of the most insane games that I have ever seen hosting. Some crazy upsets, crazy turnarounds, pre-moves, errors happening everywhere. But only one person can come out on top, and that was Stepu. Congratulations. I give you a round of applause. Anyway, go check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/TheCager. It would mean a lot if you drop me a follow. Anyway, thank you, and bye YouTube. I'll see you at another time.